No, I turned my iPad into
I can't get it to download. I can't. So I'll bring it up. It says network not available.
oh, Kevin Bass.
And is connecting to your Wi-Fi at home?
Yeah.
Just bring it in.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
And she admitted in the meeting today, she said, O'Farrell will pick up my show. So I don't know.
Like to call the meeting to order. Roll call of aldermen.
Alderman Kinsella.
Here.
Alderman Hazel.
Here.
Alderwoman Husa. Alderwoman Duco. Here. Alderman Randall. Here. Alderman Ferguson. Here. Alderman Anthony. Here. Alderman Obian. Here. Alderman Dintelman.
Here.
Alderwoman Schaefer.
Here.
Alderwoman Steele.
Here.
Alderman Rothweiler. Here. Alderman Elmore.
Here.
Alderman Weigott.
Here.
Alderman Wiggington.
Here.
Alderman Barfield.
Here.
Alderman Pusa is excused. Roll call of department heads.
City Treasurer Hart.
Here.
City Attorney Warner.
Here.
Police Chief Bill Clay. Here. Fire Chief Tom Core.
Here.
Finance Director Jamie Matrick. Here. Director of Maintenance Ken Vaughn.
Here.
Director of Public Works Jason Poole.
Here.
Director of Wastewater Boris Carlisle.
Here.
Director of Residential and Commercial Development Services Anissa McCaskill. Here. Director of Library Leander Spearman.
Here.
Director of IT Scott Markovich.
Here. Okay, I guess they're all here.
Yeah, got them all.
Very good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, good evening. We do not have any public hearings this evening. I now, when I call, if I call on you, please raise your hands first, and if someone would like to participate in public participation, now's the time. Keep your comments, when I call on you and you come to the microphone, please give your name, and please keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes for hopefully something that's on the agenda or for sure city business. So at this time, I open public participation. Does anybody like to speak this evening? Yes, ma'am. Come forward, please.
I'm Helen Johnson, and I live here in Belleville. And I'm not sure if this will be considered, but I would like to see a ban of plastic bags in the city of Belleville. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, we've had some conversation on it. We haven't taken any action or moved it forward, but in staff amongst us, we've heard about others starting to do it. So, do you have information from other cities you've seen do this, or?
I know Edwardsville
saw-
just did.
I saw that most recently. So we're not, I would say that I think if you emailed us, and not that it'll be in the record tonight that you spoke,
Okay.
but if, I think you're one of the first people that's come forward to speak out. We have had some minimal conversation, but it's not to say that it won't eventually work its way to a committee and be talked about further.
Okay, yes, I did email some of the aldermen.
Okay?
It's been a few months ago. I know I did contact Alderman Anthony,
Okay?
but it's been a year and a half ago or so.
Yeah, I think
And-
we did talk about it once. Yeah,
Yes,
we did talk
and
about
then
it.
I know there was a couple of aldermen I did accidentally leave out. I'm not very technology efficient. So, do you want me to explain why?
Well, you got just a
scientific-
moment yet. Go ahead. It's an
Okay.
important topic.
The scientific reason is that I want to ban it is because plastic bags is one of the major contaminants in our earth, on our earth. And plastic can break down by the sun or by agitation, okay? But that doesn't completely disintegrate. It only breaks down into microplastics. And the microplastic can fit in between the little lines on your fingerprint, okay? So with agitation, say a water bottle is recycled and plastic can be recycled once and once only. So if you take a water bottle, you recycle it, it usually goes into clothing, okay? So when you put that clothing in the washing machine, the agitation breaks down the plastic into microbeads. That fits right there, okay? Those microbeads cannot be filtered out by our water treatment.
Okay,
So that goes into the water, goes into our
streams?
streams and oceans, and our fish eat it as plankton. Our birds eat it, feed it their young, and it's a major contaminant. So that's why I'm asking for that
You
ban.
raised some really good points, and we will continue to have this dialogue, I'm sure.
Okay, and I pray everybody will do their Googling and find out the scientific information.
Thank you for
your
coming
time.
forward. Okay, thank you. Anyone else this evening for public participation? Okay, I'm going to close public participation, and we're going to move on to presentations, recognitions, and appointments. At this time, I want to recognize the character word of the month, and the character word of the month of December is empathy, identifying and understanding others' feelings in order to get along better. Empathy is a really, I think, a good word for the month of December, and I think it's important that we do our best to try to understand each other better and their feelings. At this time, I'm going to read a proclamation. I know we've had a slew of them in recent meetings, but they've all been uniquely important. The one we read 2 weeks ago, reference to Small Business Saturday, it must have hit a lot of people because we had a big crowd throughout the city. And it was I think a very good kickoff reminder that we need to make sure we support our local businesses and our mom and pop shops. So I was very pleased with the turnout that I saw all around town the past few days. This proclamation tonight deals with another important topic that's facing us, and this is something we can do something about also, and it's just a matter of getting engaged. So I read the proclamation tonight dealing with the census that's coming up in 2020. Whereas April 1st, 2020 is Census Day for the United States of America. Pursuant to Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, and whereas the census count requires extensive work and the Census Bureau requires partners at the state and local level to ensure a complete and accurate count. And whereas an accurate count and complete census count is important to the city of Belleville in determining federal dollars for health, education, transportation, child and elder care, emergency preparedness and response, and public and social health programs. The city receives a large portion of our general fund revenues from the state based on population, including state income tax and state use tax. These revenues are used to support general operations of the city, including public safety and public works departments. The city also receives motor fuel funds tax from the state based on population. These funds are used for infrastructure maintenance and repairs throughout the city. Whereas establishing a census in 2020's Complete Count Committee will allow the city of Belleville to obtain the most accurate and complete population count for the next 10-year census starting in 2020. And whereas the city of Belleville's Complete Count Committee will bring together a cross-section of community members who will utilize their local knowledge and expertise to reach out to all persons of our community. And whereas all members of the Complete Count Committee and the Census Bureau are bound by Title 13 of the United States Code to keep all information and data confidential and protected to ensure the privacy and protection of all residents. And whereas the City of Belleville's Complete Count Committee will work with the Census Bureau and the state of Illinois to strive for an accurate count. Now therefore, I, Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville, do hereby proclaim full support and participation in the overwhelming success of Census 220 through the formulation of the Complete Count Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't stress enough, and many of the aldermen and I have talked about this in recent weeks, and we did this 10 years ago. We've got to get a complete count. We've got to expel the myths that this information is going to be used negatively against people. It is, by law, cannot be shared inappropriately, cannot be used against you. The forms are getting simpler. It's getting more and more reasonable to get everybody counted. But if we don't get everybody counted, we will not get the revenue that Belleville deserves so that we can continue to pay the number of policemen that we want to keep hired, the number of fire stations open that we desire to keep open. We can't do all that if we don't get the motor fuel tax and the income tax and the use tax and so many other grants, et cetera, that are based on the census formulas. So we really need your help. And tonight, the next thing on the agenda is I am going to recommend that the following people would be appointed or approve my appointment recommendation of the following list of people. Is that the most accurate one? Okay. That the following list would be the group that would be recognized by the City Council and approved tonight so that they can get started with staff, and particularly Jennifer Ferguson and our good friend here, this young man here from the Economic Development Office, Joel Glasscock. The two of them are going to be the staff people, the liaisons, to coordinate and work with this committee I'm about to name. First ones on the list, no certain order. Maybe they are in certain order. They're by, I guess, by, well, they're not totally by alphabetical order because we got a C and a B mixed up, but we'll try. It's Dr. Ryan Boyk, Superintendent of 118. Mr. Kevin Bowles, he's a landlord and a member of our Crime-Free Housing Committee. Gloria Crowder, Friends of the 17th Street Neighborhood. Deacon Doug Boyer, Chancellor, Diocese of Belleville. Cheryl Beaver Brunsman, Executive Director for SWIC at PSOP. Kurt Desch, St. Clair County Veterans Assistance. Dr. Jeff Dozier, Superintendent of School District 201. Mr. Randy Elser, Metro East Pride, Southern Illinois. Mr. Scott Ferguson, Ward 3 Alderman, and he's also the staff coordinator at his church at St. Matthew's United Methodist. Lennox Forster, Executive Director, Downtown Belleville YMCA, right down here across the street. Christine Green, she's the case management specialist for the city of Belleville down at General Assistance. Kinsey Mardini, she's an agent with Avenue Realty. Wendy Files, the Executive Director of Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce. Mike Todd, Southwestern Illinois Labor's District Council. Jim Young, Interfaith Food Pantry. Leslie Wagner, Southwestern Illinois College. Ada Jimenez, did I say it wrong? Okay, thank you. And she's with the Family Advocates from the Diocese of the City of Belleville, and also, I guess, with the Hispanic Office of the Hispanic Ministry. So we're glad to have her. And Aretha Lumnis, has been with Racial Harmony and a lifelong city resident. So this is the group. Informational members will be the Honorable Representative Jay Huffman, Honorable Representative Latoya Greenwood, and Honorable Senator Christopher Belt. I would ask for a motion to approve these members to serve on this committee for the census. Member by Alderman Consider, seconded by Member Joe Hazel, Alderman, and recognizing again that Jennifer Ferguson and Joel Glasscock will be the staff's key official representatives to this group. Any additional questions or comments? We have a motion, we have a second. I'd ask for roll call.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Hazel.
Aye.
Duco. Aye. Randall. Aye. Ferguson.
Probably abstain since you're on there.
Anthony.
Aye.
Ovian.
Aye.
Dintelman.
Aye.
Schaefer.
Aye.
Steele.
Aye.
Rottweiler.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Wygant.
Aye.
Wiggington.
Aye.
Barfield.
Aye.
Motion carries. Would everybody who's on that list that happens to be here tonight, please stand. Please stand, all of you. There's quite a few of you. Stand on up. I just want to say thank you. I know we didn't ask for you, but I mentioned that you might want to come possibly. Thank you. There's going to be not an enormous amount of meetings, but there's going to be a lot of interest in your input how to help us make the reach so that we can get everybody counted, because that's so important to the future of the city. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Let me flip my page here. The next portion of this goes to Chief William Clay, who's going to come forward and make some presentations, some special presentations that I think you're going to enjoy hearing about.
Thank you. Generally, when I come before the council, I'm always talking about police officers and what they do and those types of things. But there's more to the department than just police officers. They're telecommunicators. Telecommunicators tell cops where to go. They do all sorts of things, and they're very important. So tonight, what I want to do is recognize the people that you might hear the voice, but you never see the face. They're not out on the scene, but the cop wouldn't be on the scene without them. And they've done some extraordinary things, and I think that it's important to recognize them. So tonight, the first person is, where is he? And so I'm going to say her name, Elvira Amazola. That's the way that we have it on here, but we call her Vida. Would you step forward, please? And she is the telecommunications supervisor. So she actually runs the dispatch center. And I know that some of you have been in there before through the tours and so forth, and you saw that. And this young lady is the one that's responsible for what happens in there and the procedures and so forth. And I am very, very pleased with what she does. So tonight, I just want to read off a little commendation here. I hope we got the right one. Okay. Yeah, we do. Okay. Telecommunicator Elvira Amazola displayed great courage, persistence, and resolve to deliver aid to a citizen being brutally attacked. On November 5th of 2019, TC Amazola received a 10-second phone call, 10-second phone call from a citizen screaming for help. With little to work with, she acted quickly to cross-reference multiple internal and external databases to discover the identity and location of that citizen in need. Officers were then quickly dispatched to the victim's location. The officers were able to rescue the gravely injured victim from an armed suspect who was still on the scene. TC Amazola's actions turned a possible deadly situation into one that saved the life of a citizen and removed a dangerous criminal from the streets of Belleville. TC Amazola's actions reflect great credit upon herself, the city of Belleville, and the Belleville Police Department. Thank you. TC Suzanne Funk, would you please come up? Suzanne Funk. She's a telecommunicator as well. And you came to us from Swansea.
Yes.
And her husband was here before she was here, and he is an officer on the department. He's on our tactical team. He's won a lot of awards, all sorts of stuff. So we got a good package here. They work very well for us. So, again, a telecommunicator has done some remarkable things, and I'd just like to give you a quick synopsis. This is not everything, but it's just enough so you get an idea of what they've done for us. Telecommunicator Suzanne Funk demonstrated great courage, poise, and resolve when providing aid to a distraught citizen seeking to end his life. On October 21st of 2019, while dispatching for the Swansea Police Department, T.C. Funk received a phone call from a citizen who stated he was armed with a handgun and seeking to end his life. With the assistance of her fellow telecommunicators, she was able to dispatch officers and EMS to aid the caller. Applying her training and experience, she convinced the caller to disarm himself and allow the officers and EMS personnel to render him aid. T.C. Funk's actions helped to ensure the safety of the caller, emergency responders, and the surrounding public. T.C. Funk's actions reflect great credit on herself, the City of Belleville, and of course the Belleville Police Department. Thank you. Oh, you good? That's her husband that happened back there. And I will tell you that she was dispatching for Swansea because we now do the dispatching for them. So, you know, that's how that works. One of us they'll be assigned to that, never me, I said one of them will be assigned to that. And they do those types of things, and they do it very well, so I'm very proud of them. And then we have where is Mr. Keith Hamilton? Sir, would you come on up here? Now this, this is just pride and joy to me. This is a commendation for outstanding citizen action. Citizen action. Keith Hamilton displayed great courage, attentiveness, and diligence when coming to the aid of an officer in need. On Sunday, October 27, 2019, Mr. Hamilton observed a Belleville police officer on the ground and struggling in a physical altercation with a suspect he was trying to apprehend. Without hesitation, Mr. Hamilton knowingly put himself in harm's way and assisted the officer in subduing the suspect and taking him into custody. Keith Hamilton's courage actions contributed to the apprehension of a violent offender and turned a potentially harmful ending into one that kept the officer and the public safe. His actions deserve recognition and again reflect great credit upon himself and the City of Belleville. Thank you, thank you. Don't bleed. You know, this, you know, Mr. Hamilton's actions after he did this for the police officers and for the City of Belleville and for its citizens, he did not want to be recognized. I mean, he actually said, you know, hey, I don't need to be here. I'm good, you know, thank you, and so forth. This is what we need. This is the kind of citizens that we must have to have a strong city. He doesn't just look at the police department or the government as the ones who are supposed to deliver the service. He delivered a service to us. He helped a police officer in distress and in need. And you know what? He probably saved another person's life, the person that the officer was struggling with. Because let me tell you, when we don't have assistance or aid and we have to deal with something, you know what happens next? We go to lethal force. But this young man stepped forward, and I can call you a young man, because I'm old. And he stepped forward and he did his due diligence, and He did what a citizen would do, and it is outstanding and it's refreshing. And we don't see that often, and I am just proud of what he did. Thank you very much again, sir.
This time we move on to the approval of the minutes. I'd ask for a motion to approve the city council meeting minutes of November 18, 2019. Alderman Dillman, second by Wiggington. Any discussion or additions or corrections of the minutes as was in your packet? Hearing none, all in favor of receiving and filing the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Claims, payroll, and disbursements. Jamie, I've already been asked twice. Why don't you go ahead and at least give that explanation, because it's going to come up any second, I know. We have a pretty large amount of claims tonight, and it's a pretty simple explanation.
Right, so through discussions with Dean and myself, we decided to move $10 million of investments around to Associated Bank. It was just easiest because of timing to run it through claims, even though it's not a claim or a payment anywhere. We did have to write a check to Associated to move that money there, so it is through the claims. So claims looks pretty large tonight, but $10 million of that was actually just moving of investments, not an actual bill. So.
Okay. So at this time, I'd ask for a motion to approve claims and disbursements in the amount of $14,022,230.21, and the payroll in the amount of $858,955.02. Do I hear a motion? Alderman Kinsella, second by Ferguson. Any additions, questions, corrections of the claims or payroll disbursements? Hearing none, roll call.
Hazel.
Aye.
Duco. Randall. Ferguson. Anthony. Ovian. Dintelman. Schaefer. Steele.
Aye.
Rothweiler. Elmore. Weigant. Wiggington. Barfield. Kinsella.
Motion carries. We go to reports, and I'll ask for this next motion to come comes from administration. I'd ask for a motion to approve the 2020 committees and commissions calendar. We had to do that because there was a couple of them that there was a little bit of adjustment needed to be done to, I think Aaron said.
We do it every year.
Every year, okay, every year we do it first of the year. So do I hear a motion for that first request? Well, Alderman Wiggington, second by Steele. Any questions on that? Roll call.
Duco. Randall. Ferguson. Anthony. Ovian. Dintelman. Schaefer. Steele. Rothweiler. Elmore. Weigant. Wiggington. Barfield. Kinsella. Hazel.
Motion carries. And then I go also from administration and from the Police and Fire Committee, I'd ask for a motion to adopt the 2015 International Fire Code. Hazel, and a second by Anthony. Any questions about that? We've talked about it in committee, and this is an upgrade. See, the last one we were using was 2006. So we went from, it's never totally caught up, but we're moving forward. So if there's no additional questions, I'd ask for a roll call.
Randall. Ferguson. Anthony. Ovian. Dintelman. Schaefer. Steele. Rothweiler. Elmore. Weigant. Wiggington. Barfield. Kinsella. Hazel. Duco.
Motion carries. I'd go to communications. There's 4 of them. Is there any objection if we read them together? Okay, Ms. Clerk.
12A, Lucky Leprechaun 5K, 3/14/2020. Request from Belleville Main Street to approve the Lucky Leprechaun 5K, Saturday, March 14, 2020, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Rolling street closures, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Additional request of police officers, barricades, and no parking signs. 12B, Old Town Farmers Market 2020. Request from Belleville Main Street to approve the Old Town Farmers Market every Saturday, May 2nd, 2020 through November 7th, 2020, 7:30 a.m. to noon. Street closure request, first block of South Charles between East Main and East Washington, 6:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Additional request of city-owned parking lots on the northwest and northeast corners of South Charles Street and East Washington Street for vendors as necessary. Additional request of wooden barricades, trash toters, picnic tables, porta potty, and banner across West Illinois Street as available. 12C, Bell Scott Committee 1/9/2020. Communication from Bell Scott to Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to hold the January Bell Scott Committee meeting at City Hall, Thursday, January 9th, 2020, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The meeting will include heavy hors d'oeuvres, a bar, and music. 12D, Ring Downtown Belleville, November and December 2019. Request from the Salvation Army to ring bells during their donation campaign at Gaslight Patio Courtyard, 227 East Main Street, Friday, November 29th, Saturday, November 30th, Friday, December 6th, Saturday, December 7th, Friday, December 13th, Saturday, December 14th, Friday, December 20th, Saturday, December 21st, Monday, December 23rd, and Tuesday, December 24th, 2019.
We've heard the four communications read. Do I have someone willing to make a motion to approve those four communications? Alderman Schaefer, second by Duco. Any questions or other comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the communications signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Petitions, we have none. Resolutions, we have none. We have one ordinance. I'd ask for a motion to read by title only. Ordinance number 8398. Motion by Alderman Dillman, second by Alderman Schaefer to read that by title only. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
15A, Ordinance 8398, 2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 33, Public Safety, Law Enforcement, Section 33.085, Fire Code adopted of the Revised Code of Ordinances of Belleville, Illinois.
Do I hear a motion to approve? Alderman Schaefer, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Ferguson. Do I hear any discussion on ordinance 8398? Hearing no discussion or questions, roll call.
Ferguson. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Ovian.
Aye.
Dintelman.
Aye.
Schaefer.
Aye.
Steele.
Aye.
Rottweiler. Aye. Elmore.
Aye.
Weigant.
Aye.
Wiggington.
Aye.
Barfield.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Hazel.
Aye.
Duco. Randall.
Motion carries. Unfinished business? Motor fuel claims under miscellaneous and new business. I'd ask for a motion to approve the motor fuel claims in the amount of $351,864.71. Ferguson, second by Steele. Any discussion on the motor fuel claims? Roll call.
Anthony.
Aye.
Ovian.
Aye.
Dintelman.
Aye.
Schaefer.
Aye.
Steele.
Aye.
Rottweiler.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Weigant.
Aye.
Wiggington.
Aye.
Barfield.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Hazel.
Aye.
Duco. Randall. Ferguson.
Motion carries. I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session shortly. And how do you want to phrase that?
To discuss property acquisition under section 2C 5 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
What he said, do I hear a motion? Motion by Kinsella, second by Ed Dillman. He nodded his head. He didn't get his hand up quick enough. Any discussion on that? All in favor to go in executive sessions for the purposes as stated by the city attorney, signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into executive session. Glad to see the students here from Belleville West. I'll look forward to seeing you December 9th, right? Okay, we'll see some of you here on December 9th, but thanks for coming. And you got an actually pretty sharp meeting tonight, so. Huh?